Most people spend their lives waiting for the right moment. They tell themselves they'll change when things settle down, when they feel more confident, when they have more money, more time, more clarity. But the truth is, that perfect moment never arrives. Life doesn't pause and prepare itself for your transformation. You have to decide right here, right now, that today is the day everything begins to shift. Not tomorrow, not next week, not at the start of a new year, today. Because the power to change your life has never been in the future. It has always been in this present moment. And the moment you truly decide, not wish, not hope, but decide, you create a line between who you used to be and who you are becoming. That decision is not loud. It doesn't need an audience, and it doesn't require perfection. It's a quiet, powerful commitment you make within yourself, where excuses lose their control and purpose takes over. You stop negotiating with your comfort zone and start stepping into your potential. You begin to realize that waiting has cost you enough time already, and continuing to wait will only cost you more. So instead of asking, when will I change? You start saying, I change now. That shift alone is the beginning of everything. The reality is, change doesn't come from motivation. It comes from decision. Motivation fades, feelings fluctuate, and circumstances are never perfect. But a true decision cuts through all of that. When you decide, you don't need to feel ready. You act anyway. You don't need approval. You move forward regardless. You don't need guarantees. You trust the process. Think about it. Every successful transformation you admire started with someone making a decision in a moment that looked ordinary to everyone else. There was no dramatic music, no perfect conditions, just a person who got tired of staying the same. And that's where you are right now. You might feel stuck, overwhelmed, or uncertain, but none of that has the power to stop you unless you let it. Because change is not about having everything figured out. It's about being willing to take the first step, even when you don't. It's about choosing growth over comfort, action over hesitation, and progress over perfection. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. Yes, there will be doubt. But those are signs that you are stepping out of the old version of yourself. Every great change begins with discomfort because you are leaving behind what is familiar to create something better. So instead of fearing that feeling, embrace it as proof that you are finally moving. And here's the most powerful truth of all. Your life can start changing in a single moment, but only if you choose it. Not because someone told you to, not because circumstances forced you, but because you decided you deserve more. More growth, more purpose, more discipline, more success. The moment you make that decision, your focus sharpens, your actions align, and your direction becomes clear. You stop drifting and start driving your life with intention. You no longer wait for opportunities, you create them. You no longer depend on motivation, you build habits. And you no longer see yourself as someone who wants to change, but as someone who already has. That identity shift is where real transformation begins. It's not about doing something big once. It's about committing to showing up every single day after this moment. Because today is not just another day. It is your turning point. It is the day you stop delaying your potential and start living it. It is the day you stop watching others change their lives and finally change your own. So don't let this moment pass like all the others. Don't push this decision into tomorrow like you've done before. Stand firm in it, own it, and act on it. Because everything you've been waiting for begins the second you decide. Change your life today. So many people today are obsessed with speed. They want quick success, fast results, instant transformation. They look around and compare their progress to others, wondering why someone else is ahead, why someone else is moving faster, why their own journey feels slow. And in that comparison, they begin to panic. They rush their decisions, they chase shortcuts. They jump from one path to another, thinking that moving faster will somehow get them closer to success. But what they don't realize is this: speed without direction leads nowhere. You can run as fast as you want, but if you're heading in the wrong direction, all you're doing is getting lost more quickly. And that's the truth most people avoid. It's not about how fast you move. It's about where you're going. Because a slow step in the right direction is always more powerful than a fast step in the wrong one. Real progress is not about rushing. It's about aligning. It's about making sure that every step you take, no matter how small, is taking you closer to the life you actually want. And once you understand that, something shifts inside you. The pressure to be fast disappears, and the focus on being intentional begins. Think about it. Greatness is not built in a rush. It is built through consistent, focused movement in the right direction. Every successful person you admire didn't just move fast. They moved with purpose. They made decisions based on where they wanted to go, not based on how quickly they could get there. And that's where most people go wrong. They let impatience control their actions. They start something, and when results don't come immediately, they quit or switch paths. They mistake slow progress for failure, when in reality, slow progress is still progress. The truth is, the right direction often feels slow at the beginning because you're building something real, something strong, something that lasts. Quick success is often fragile, but steady growth creates a foundation that cannot be easily shaken. When you focus on direction, you start asking better questions. Instead of asking, how fast can I get there? You ask, is this taking me where I truly want to go? Instead of chasing shortcuts, you commit to the process. Instead of being distracted by what others are doing, you stay locked in on your own path. And that's where power comes from. Not in speed, but in clarity. Because once your direction is clear, every step, no matter how small, becomes meaningful. And here's the most important part. You don't need to have everything figured out to move in the right direction. You just need to be honest with yourself about where you are and where you want to go. Direction is built through choices, through daily actions, through the habits you commit to. It's not one big decision. It's a series of small, intentional ones. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are correcting your direction. Every time you choose growth over excuses, you are aligning your path. And yes, there will be moments where you feel like you're not moving fast enough. There will be days where it seems like nothing. That's changing. But in those moments, you have to remind yourself that you are not racing against anyone. This is your journey, your timeline, your life. And as long as you are moving in the right direction, you are winning. Because eventually, consistency compounds. Small steps turn into big results. Slow progress turns into undeniable transformation. And one day you look back and realize that while others were rushing and burning out, you were building something real, something lasting, something powerful. So don't let the world rush you into the wrong path. Don't sacrifice direction for speed. Take your time, stay focused, and keep moving forward with purpose, because the right direction will always lead you exactly where you're meant to be. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is because they spend too much time looking outward instead of inward. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to blame circumstances, blame other people, blame bad luck, blame the past. You can say it was your environment, your upbringing, your situation, your lack of opportunities. And maybe some of that is true. Maybe life hasn't been fair to you. Maybe you've been through things that most people will never understand. But here's the hard truth. Blame will never move your life forward. Blame might make you feel justified. It might give you temporary comfort, but it also keeps you powerless. Because the moment you place control outside of yourself, you also give away your ability to change anything. And that's the trap. You start believing that your life is controlled by forces you can't influence. And slowly, you stop trying. You stop pushing. You stop growing. Not because you can't change, but because you convinced yourself that you don't have control. And that belief is far more dangerous than any obstacle you face. Because when you believe you have no control, you accept the life you have instead of creating the life you want. But everything begins to change the moment you take responsibility. Not partial responsibility, not conditional responsibility, full responsibility. That doesn't mean you blame yourself for everything that's happened to you. It means you take ownership of what happens next. It means you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? That shift is powerful because it puts you back in control. It forces you to step out of the victim mindset and into a mindset of growth and action. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions. You stop waiting for things to magically improve. Instead, you start creating change with what you have, where you are. And that's where real transformation begins. Because responsibility is not a burden. It's a form of freedom. It means your future is not decided by your past. It means your results are not fixed. It means that no matter how difficult your situation is, you still have the power to take a step forward. And that step, no matter how small, is always enough to begin. And here's what most people don't realize. Taking responsibility doesn't make life easier, but it makes you stronger. It forces you to face your habits, your choices, your patterns. It forces you to admit where you've been holding yourself back. And yes, that can be uncomfortable. It can be difficult to look at yourself and say, I could have done better. But that honesty is where growth lives. Because once you accept that your actions shape your results, you also realize that you can change your actions at any time. You can choose discipline over excuses. You can choose effort over avoidance. You can choose to show up even when you don't feel like it. And those choices, repeated day after day, begin to reshape your entire life. The more responsibility you take, the more control you gain. The more control you gain, the more confident you become. And the more confident you become, the more unstoppable you feel. It's a cycle, but it starts with a single decision to stop blaming and start owning. Because at the end of the day, no one is coming to change your life for you. No one is going to put in the work on your behalf. This is your journey, your responsibility, your opportunity. And the moment you fully accept that is the moment everything begins to shift. Take control, take responsibility, and take your life back. There's a place in your life that feels safe, predictable, and familiar. It's the routine you've built, the habits you repeat, the thoughts you think every single day. It's where nothing feels too difficult, nothing feels too uncertain, and nothing demands more from you than what you're already giving. That place is called your comfort zone. And while it may feel like security, it is often the very thing holding you back. Because comfort doesn't challenge you, it doesn't stretch you, it doesn't force you to grow. It keeps you exactly where you are. And if you're honest with yourself, you already know this. You know there are things you've been avoiding, risks you've been afraid to take, changes you've been delaying, not because you can't do them, but because they make you uncomfortable. And so you stay where it feels easy. You stay where it feels safe. But here's the truth. Nothing in your life will improve if you keep choosing comfort over growth. The life you want exists outside of that familiar space, outside of the routines that are keeping you stuck, outside of the excuses that make staying the same feel acceptable. And until you make the decision to break that cycle, nothing will change. Breaking the cycle of comfort is not about making one big dramatic move. It's about making small, intentional choices that push you just beyond what feels easy. It's about waking up and doing the things you've been avoiding. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it. It's about choosing discipline when comfort is calling you back. Because comfort will always try to pull you in. It will tell you to wait, to rest a little longer, to start tomorrow, to stay where things are predictable. And if you listen to it long enough, it becomes a habit. You start choosing what's easy over what's necessary. You start settling for less than what you're capable of. But the moment you begin to challenge that pattern, everything starts to shift. The moment you take action despite the discomfort, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. And that's where growth begins. Not in the moments when things are easy, but in the moments when you choose to move forward anyway. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, even in the smallest way, you expand your limits. What once felt difficult begins to feel normal. What once felt impossible begins to feel achievable. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start becoming a different person. Someone who is not controlled by comfort, but driven by purpose. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. There will be moments of doubt, moments of fear, moments where you question whether it's worth it. But those moments are not signs that you should stop. They are signs that you are growing. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your guide. It is showing you exactly where the change needs to happen. It is pointing you toward the areas of your life that have been left untouched for too long. And if you learn to embrace that feeling, instead of running from it, you unlock a level of strength you didn't know you had. Because every time you push through discomfort, you build resilience. You build confide. Not you build the kind of mindset that refuses to settle. And over time, what once felt uncomfortable becomes your new normal. You begin to seek challenges instead of avoiding them. You begin to crave growth instead of resisting it. And that is where your life truly begins to transform. Because the difference between where you are and where you want to be is not talent. It's not luck. It's not timing. It's the willingness to step out of comfort and into growth again and again. So don't wait until you feel ready, because you may never feel ready. Don't wait until it feels easy, because it won't. Start now, push forward, and break the cycle, because your next level of life is waiting on the other side of discomfort. Everything in your life begins in your mind. Before any action is taken, before any result is created, before any change becomes visible, it all starts with a thought. And yet, most people go through their days without ever questioning the thoughts they are thinking. They accept every doubt, every fear, every negative belief as if it were a fact. They tell themselves they're not good enough, not ready, not capable, and then they wonder why their life doesn't change. But the truth is, your mind is not always telling you the truth. It's telling you what it has been trained to believe. If you've spent years feeding it fear, comparison, and limitation, then of course it will continue to produce the same patterns. And those patterns will shape your actions. You'll hesitate when you should move. You'll quit when things get hard. You'll stay small when you were meant to grow. This is why controlling your mindset is not optional. It is essential. Because whether you realize it or not, your thoughts are creating your reality every single day. The way you see yourself determines how you show up. The way you interpret challenges determines whether you rise or fall. And if you don't take control of your mind will control you. But here's the powerful part. You have the ability to change that. You may not be able to control every situation, every outcome, or every obstacle that comes your way, but you can always control how you think about it. And that is where your power lies. Because when you start to take ownership of your thoughts, you begin to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you start asking, how can I do this? Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, you focus on what could go right. Instead of seeing failure as the end, you start seeing it as part of the process. This doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend everything is perfect. It means you choose a mindset that moves you forward instead of holding you back. It means you become aware of the negative patterns and actively replace them with beliefs that serve your growth. And yes, this takes effort. It takes consistency. It takes catching yourself in those moments when your mind tries to pull you back into old habits. But every time you choose a better thought, every time you shift your perspective, you are strengthening a new mental pattern. And over time, that new pattern becomes your default. What once felt forced becomes natural. What once felt like a struggle becomes your strength. And when your mindset changes, everything else begins to change with it. You start approaching life differently. Challenges no longer intimidate you. They motivate you. Setbacks no longer break you. They teach you. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin to believe in yourself even when results are not yet visible. And that belief is powerful because it keeps you moving when nothing else will. It keeps you consistent when motivation fades. It keeps you focused when distractions appear. And slowly but surely, your external world begins to reflect your internal shift. Because when your thoughts change, your actions change. When your actions change, your results change. And when your results change, your life changes. It all comes back to the mind. The same mind that once held you back can become the very thing that pushes you forward. But only if you take control of it. Only if you stop letting it run on autopilot and start directing it with intention. Because at the end of the day, the greatest battle you will ever fight is the one inside your own head. And once you learn to win that battle, there is nothing outside of you that can stop you. Master your mind and you will master your life. Everyone wants success, but very few people truly understand what creates it. They look for big opportunities, breakthrough moments, sudden changes that will transform everything overnight. They wait for motivation to strike, for the perfect plan to appear, for the right time to finally begin. But success doesn't work like that. It isn't built in one powerful moment. It's built in the small, often unnoticed actions you take every single day. It's built in the mornings when you don't feel like getting up, but you do it anyway. It's built in the moments when no one is watching, when there is no applause, no recognition, no immediate reward. That's where the real work happens. And that's what most people avoid. They underestimate the power of consistency because it feels slow, because it feels repetitive, because it doesn't give instant results. But what they fail to see is that every small action is like a brick. And over time, those bricks build something unshakable. One day of effort won't change your life, but repeated daily effort will. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent or luck. It's the ability to show up again and again, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when it feels like nothing is changing. The truth is, consistency requires discipline. And discipline is not something you wait for. It's something you build. It's a decision you make daily to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. Because your feelings will not always support your goals. There will be days when you feel tired, distracted, unmotivated, and tempted to quit. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can follow your feelings and stay where you are, or you can follow your commitment and move forward. That's the difference between a temporary desire and a true decision. When you rely on motivation, you only act when it feels good. But when you rely on discipline, you act because it matters. And over time, those disciplined actions begin to shape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you start seeing yourself as someone who does, someone who shows up no matter what, someone who keeps going when others stop. And that identity is powerful because once you believe that about yourself, your actions begin to align with it naturally. You don't negotiate with your goals anymore. You don't look for excuses. You simply do the work day after day, step by step. And here's where the magic happens. Consistency compounds. What feels small today becomes significant tomorrow. What feels like effort now becomes habit later. And those habits, repeated over time, create results that once seemed impossible. You may not see progress immediately, And that's where most people give up. They work for a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a few months. And when they don't see dramatic change, they lose faith. But real transformation is not instant. It's gradual. It's happening beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Every time you take action, you are building momentum. Every time you stay consistent, you are strengthening your foundation. And eventually, that momentum becomes unstoppable. The results begin to show, the progress becomes clear, and everything starts to come together. But it only happens if you stay in the process long enough. So don't chase big moments. Commit to small daily actions. Don't wait for motivation. Build discipline. Don't expect overnight success. Trust the power of consistency, because your future is not created by what you do once. It's created by what you do repeatedly. Show up today, show up tomorrow, and keep showing up until the life you once dreamed of becomes the life you live. Because consistent action is the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. One of the heaviest things a person can carry is not failure, not rejection, not even hardship. It's the past, the memories of what went wrong, the mistakes that still replay in your mind, the opportunities you missed, the things you wish you could go back and change. For many people, the past becomes a permanent weight, something they carry into every new day without even realizing how much it is holding them back. They wake up thinking about it, they measure themselves against it, and slowly it begins to define who they believe they are. They tell themselves, I failed before, so I'll probably fail again. Or I made too many mistakes, it's too late for me now. And without noticing, they build a future based on a past that no longer exists. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your past is a place, not a life sentence. It is something you experienced, not something you are required to relive. And the moment you understand that, you begin to take your power back, because you cannot move forward while constantly looking backward. You cannot build a new life while holding on to an old identity. At some point, you have to make a decision to release what has already happened, not because it didn't matter, but because you refuse to let it control what happens next. Letting go of the past is not about pretending it didn't happen. It's not about ignoring the lessons or denying the pain. It's about changing your relationship with it. Instead of seeing your past as something that limits you, you begin to see it as something that taught you. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every failure becomes feedback. Every setback becomes a stepping stone. And when you shift your perspective like that, something powerful happens. You stop being defined by what you went through, and you start being strengthened by it. You begin to realize that the same experiences you once saw as weaknesses can actually become your greatest sources of growth. The struggles you faced built your resilience. The challenges you endured developed your strength. The moments you thought broke you were actually shaping you into someone stronger than you were before. But you can only access that strength if you're willing to let go of the emotional weight attached to those experiences. Because holding on to regret, guilt, or resentment doesn't change the past. It only damages your present. It drains your energy, clouds your thinking, and keeps you stuck in a cycle that leads nowhere. And the longer you hold on, the more it costs you. It costs you opportunities, it costs you growth, it costs you the life you could be building right now. And here's the most important part. You don't need permission to start over. You don't need everything to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. And you don't need to wait for the past to somehow fix itself. You simply need to decide that it no longer has control over you. That decision is where freedom begins. It's where you stop identifying with who you used to be and start focusing on who you are becoming. It's where you stop replaying old stories and start writing a new one. And yes, it may not be easy. There will be moments, old thoughts try to come back, when memories try to pull you in, when doubt tries to remind you of who you were. But in those moments, You have to stand firm in your decision. You have to remind yourself that you are not your past. You are your choices today. You are what you decide to do next. And every single day gives you a new opportunity to move forward, to grow, to create something better. So don't let yesterday steal today. Don't let old mistakes define new possibilities. Release it, learn from it, and keep moving forward with purpose, because your future is waiting for the version of you that finally lets go. The most overlooked truth about transformation is that it doesn't start with circumstances. It starts with you. People spend their lives waiting for someone else to change, waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for luck to intervene, thinking that the world will give them permission to live the life they dream of. But the reality is that no one is coming to make you better. No one is coming to fix your mistakes. No one is coming to push you towards your potential. If you want a different life, you have to become a different person. You have to grow into the version of yourself who deserves the life you want. That means examining who you are right now, honestly and without excuses, and asking yourself what kind of person it will take to achieve your goals. It's not about wishful thinking or temporary bursts of effort. It's about deliberately shaping your habits, your mindset, and your actions to match the person you aspire to be. Every decision you make, every choice you follow through on, every moment you dedicate to your growth is a building block for that new version of yourself. And until you commit to becoming that person, nothing in your external world can truly change, because the world responds to the person you show up as, not the person dream of being. Becoming the person you want to be requires courage, because it means confronting the parts of yourself you've ignored or avoided. It means being honest about your weaknesses without letting them define you. It means facing the fears that have held you back and proving to yourself that you are stronger than those fears. It means choosing discipline over comfort, action over procrastination, and resilience over excuses. And it is in those choices, repeated consistently, that transformation happens. You see, the future doesn't just appear. It is created moment by moment, decision by decision. Every time you act with integrity, every time you push past doubt, every time you rise after a setback, you are stepping closer to the person you are meant to be. And the beauty of this process is that you don't have to wait for perfection. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to have all the answers. And you don't have to have it all figured out. You simply have to start. You simply have to take the next right action. You simply have to show up for yourself today, and then tomorrow, and then the day after that, knowing that each small step compounds into something powerful. And here's the most liberating part. You already have everything you need to become that person. The strength, the resilience, the intelligence, the creativity, the courage, they are all within you, waiting to be activated. Becoming the person you want to be is not about acquiring something new. It's about uncovering who you already are beneath the layers of doubt, fear, and limitation. It's about committing to grow into that identity with every choice you make, every habit you form, every challenge you overcome. And when you fully embrace that mindset, your life begins to reflect it. Your actions align with your purpose. Your decisions build momentum, and the world begins to respond to the version of you that is unstoppable. You stop relying on external circumstances to change your life, because you realize that your power has been inside you all along. You stop waiting for opportunities to find you, because you create them with intention. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your past or your environment, because you step fully into the person who shapes your destiny. And when that happens, nothing can stop you. You have become the person you are meant to be, and your life now moves in a direction that matches that power, that clarity, and that purpose. Become the person you want to be, and the world will have no choice but to follow.